Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. What is Sister Cities International? How do Sister Cities programs work to promote international cooperation and understanding, as well as to enhance economic development and tourism? We'll be back in just a moment to talk about these and other important issues. Welcome back to our program. Today we're looking at a very unique organization, Sister Cities International. You're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guest. Earlier I mentioned about Sister Cities, and it is truly a unique program that brings together millions of people from around the world. My guest today is an expert on Sister Cities International. My guest today is Kay Sargent. Ms. Sargent is the Kentucky State Coordinator for Sister Cities International, and she's also the Executive Director of the Lexington, Kentucky Sister Cities Program. Kay, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thank you, Bill. I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate you being with me. We're going to jump right into Sister Cities, but let's just talk in general terms. What are some of the goals of Sister Cities? What do you hope to accomplish in developing these people-to-people relationships?
Well, the ultimate goal when Sister City was started was to attain world peace. That was the reason for it. Now they're promoting cultural exchanges and developing partnerships and developing friendships.
Mm-hmm. We've got a clip of your current CEO of Sister Cities International, Mary Kane, and we're going to watch that for about a minute, and she's going to give us a little overview of Sister Cities, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
What is Sister Cities International?
Sister Cities International is a 56-year-old network of U.S. cities, communities, states that have partnerships around the world. And we were started by President Dwight Eisenhower back in 1956, and we consist of over 500 U.S. cities that have 2,000 partnerships in 136 countries.
Kay, I think she gave us a very good overview of Sister Cities and how it started out in a very tense period, and the role that President Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a former military general, played in realizing that we had to overcome some of these obstacles because governments so often wouldn't talk to each other. They didn't trust one another, but if you could get people to people in one community networking with another community, how can that make a difference?
Exactly, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, that was the purpose of President Eisenhower. That was his vision. It was to take the government out of it, that it had to come down to people, getting to know people, understanding their culture. So that was the whole purpose of his. It had been a very trying time during World War II, and as you said, during the Cold War. And I think he had a very good vision to develop the people-to-people and Sister Cities programs.
Mm-hmm. And as she mentioned in the overview, there are 500 United States cities networking with 2,000 cities from all around the world, from Asia, Africa, Latin America,
right, 136
Europe,
countries.
In 136
yes.
countries, which is a huge number. And so do you find that the Sister Cities program is becoming more popular as we go along, that there are more and more people and mayors in different cities that want to participate?
Absolutely. I was just at the Kentucky League of Cities convention speaking to mayors around the state of Kentucky about the program. They're becoming very interested in it and making that global connection.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly very important. When I think back, too, before we get away from President Eisenhower, at that time, he, realizing the distrust and mistrust in the world, he also set up two other programs, a people-to-people program, which his granddaughter, I guess, is running today.
Yes,
And-
Mary Jean.
Right, and then you have the Atoms for Peace program, which was a domestic U.S. program to try to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy, but that spun off into the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, which is a key player today in trying to reduce nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula with North Korea, to deal with Iran, to make sure it doesn't go nuclear. So there have been a lot of positive programs that have come out of his vision.
Oh, absolutely. And Sister Cities actually is a spinoff of the People to People program, and they work hand in hand now.
Now, if we keep it at the macro level just for a moment, as you look at Sister Cities International, your office is in Virginia, I guess it is.
It's in Washington, D.C., yes.
Okay, and who are some of your major partners at the international level? I'm sure you're teaming up with some United Nations agencies from time to time and other groups.
And lots of NGOs that they partner with. A lot of foundations, you know, they apply for a lot of grants to support their local members. Media, you know, many partners that they have.
How can they start a program with a city in the United States or someone in the U.S. with somebody else?
They can go to the website. I think the first step, if you're just an ordinary citizen in a community wanting to start a sister city program, the first step is to get the support in your city, in your community. Sister City is an agreement between mayors of communities, so you have to get that support. So if you were in another country wanting to have a U.S. city as a sister city, you might go to the mayor and ask and try to get that support. Suggest that the mayor write to Sister Cities International, or if they have a city already in mind, maybe just write direct to that mayor, the mayor of that city, asking about the possibility and the interest in becoming a sister city. As state coordinator, that's one of my things that I do around the state, is to help cities set up their program. So once they become interested, once they get the support of the mayor, then I step in and maybe you can say hold their hand and take step by step as how to form the program.
And when I was thinking of the one with empowering women and to promote universal primary school education, I thought automatically of Malala Yousafzai, who is really the face of courage today. She is just a hero, and she's well known all around the world. But I thought it'd be interesting if we saw a brief clip of her recent appearance at the United Nations, and then we could come back and talk about her and how important it is to promote universal primary school education. Let's take a look at the video, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
The United Nations declared her birthday, July 12th, as Malala Day, reaffirming its commitment to changing attitudes toward children's education. Special
As
Envoy for
Malala
Global
comes to the
Education,
stage to
Gordon
speak to you,
Brown.
let me repeat the words the Taliban never wanted her to hear. Happy 16th birthday, Malala.
Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights.
Do you folks factor in, when you're looking at Sister Cities programs, and I know there are different ones for different communities, but do you look at these Millennium Development Goals like helping to reduce poverty, but also to promote primary school education? And why is it important to work to empower women in these communities where you have Sister Cities relationships?
Well, first of all, I think hero was a good word you used, and role model. What an outstanding young lady she is. Many of those Sister City programs have, as part of their program, humanitarian projects that they do. Whether it's to help get clean water in Africa, or help build schools, or send fire trucks, or send ambulance, or help send books or whatever the need is. It's a big part of the Sister City program.
It certainly is. Now, we've been talking about internationally at the macro level, maybe break it down to Kentucky. We could be talking about the state of California, New Jersey, New York, Florida. They all have Sister Cities programs. So let's just talk about Kentucky as sort of a microcosm of them. How many Sister Cities programs do you have in Kentucky? And do they all just have one Sister City, or do you have multiple ones?
Presently, we have 14 active programs in Kentucky. Most of them have one sister city. However, Louisville, of course, being the largest city in Kentucky, they just twinned with their 9th sister city.
9 of them.
Nine.
Nine
So
of them.
Turkey was the last one they just signed an agreement with. But Louisville is a big city. They can support that many sister cities. So Lexington has 4 sister cities. We're looking for our 5th. Our commission that oversees our program decided we needed a Spanish-speaking sister city, so we're looking for that now. Several of the cities have 2. Moorhead, I know, has 2. Owensboro has 2. So, but most of the cities have 1, the smaller cities. But it's very, it really doesn't matter how big the city is as to how many sister cities. As long as the support is there and they can carry out the projects and programs with those cities, there's really no limit as to how many you can have.
Exactly. You mentioned Louisville, the largest city in Kentucky with about 1 million people, and they've got 8 or 9 Sister Cities programs.
Yes.
Lexington, about 400,000 people roughly, and it has 4 looking for its 5th. And we've got a little video of an event of a couple of years ago now. It was the 50th anniversary of the Sister Cities program between Lexington, Kentucky, which bills itself as the thoroughbred racehorse capital of the world, and Deauville, France. And the former mayor, Jim Newberry, is in this. But let's go watch that for a second, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
I often say that many of our visitors consider Lexington as their home away from home. Today, we are making each of you honorary citizens of Lexington in the hope that you will begin to think of our city as your home away from home.
On dit souvent de nos visiteurs qu'ils considèrent Lexington comme leur deuxième maison. Et aujourd'hui, nous aimons.
Okay, I guess that brings back some fond memories of of how things were, golly, 6-8 years ago, something like that, or probably maybe
in
further back.
2006, I think.
2006.
Oh no, 2007. We twinned with Deauville in 1957. Actually, the year after President Eisenhower started the program. So Lexington was one of the first cities to find a city in another country to become sister cities. So we're very proud of that, and our program with Deauville has flourished over the last 50 years, and we have so many programs and projects and friends there. So it's a great program.
What are a couple of those projects, like with Deauville, France, or you've got sister cities with Japan, with England and Ireland,
yes.
Right. But what are a couple of projects that might be of interest to our viewers?
Our particular program, youth and education, are always, to me, the grassroots of the program. You have to get the youth involved. That's where it starts. So we have many programs with our elementary, middle, high school, both of our big universities there, the University of Kentucky and Transylvania University, with teachers. So education and youth to us is very important. The arts and culture is very important. Not only visual art, but music and dancing and singing and all kinds of cultural exchanges that we do. Professional exchanges. We send people to work, they send people here to work, to learn about each other's businesses, to help open businesses. Tourism is a very big part of our program because of the travel back and forth, and we promote tourism. You know, you're only limited by your imagination as the things you can do with your sister city. It's fun sometimes just to think of all the things. Sports, for example. We've exchanged soccer teams and basketball teams, and so just anything that teaches or exchanges ideas.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like that you could tailor-make a Sister Cities program to whatever the interest of a group or several groups in your community and their counterparts in another community would like to do it, be it, as you mentioned, in the area of sports. It could be a cultural activity. It could be some type of professional activity. It could be a group of architects, perhaps,
Exactly.
in one country or another.
Municipal. You know, we've sent police, firemen. It's so anything that you're learning. You're all the time learning about each other and trying to do things better and learn about other cultures. So it's just endless, the projects and programs you can do.
Why are the cultural aspects so important? Maybe learning more about dancing, if they call it the jig. I'm not sure they do anymore in
Irish
Ireland.
dancing,
The Irish
yes.
dancing. But why is it important to learn about those?
Well, first of all, Ireland, Lexington there's so many people with Irish roots wanting to learn about where they came from and wanting to learn about where their ancestors came from. You see the things in Lexington that have, like, for example, our rock fences that you see in Ireland all the time. There's so many similarities between our cultures, and it's the youth want to learn about other cultures. They want to see where they came from and learn about their roots. So I think it's important that that they learn about all different cultures and all different where people came from.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you just look at the state of Kentucky, there are Irish people, Irish Americans all around the country.
Oh, yes.
And probably every state. And of course, East Kentucky had a lot of Scotch-Irish people moving into that area. But you have these linkages back to from whence people came, so to speak. So a lot of people are interested in going back to study that genealogy or to retrace where their ancestors lived.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we have a lot of the students that are interested, because they know that, you know, their parents might tell them, well, we're Irish. You know, we have our parents came from Ireland, and it's really interesting to them to find out about where their ancestors came from.
Mm-hmm. Do you find, you're talking about students and how important it is to have students involved. Do you have a situation where you have some students going over to study languages, like maybe to Deauville, France, to study French? Some of the students there come over here to study English, that you have maybe some of your Spanish teachers who might want to take a delegation to the Dominican Republic and vice versa. Do you find that you have quite a few of those events, along with maybe soccer events and other things?
Well, that's actually a very important program that we have. French, for example, with our sister city in France, and we have a program just for students that are studying French, so that every year, every summer, for a month, we send students over to immerse them into the language so that they can come back and have a better feel for the language. And they do the same thing. They send their French students here for a month to study English. So language learning is a very big part of the program. Two of our sister cities, of course, speak English, but the other one, Japan, speaks Japanese, which is becoming huge. I know in our city it is. A lot of the schools now are teaching Japanese in the schools. Of course, Toyota had a lot to do with that, with all the Japanese that came to Kentucky. And a lot of the schools are teaching Japanese now, so it's important for them to learn that.
What are some of the major challenges you see as you look over the horizon as we plunge further into the 21st century? What are some of the challenges with the Sister Cities International program and to get more online and get more people involved?
Well, as in most things, economics, money is sometimes an issue. because everything takes some kind of budget to have. So I think raising money for the program is probably the biggest challenge that we have, because we want it to include as many citizens as possible in the community. And in order to do that, we need to give scholarships to have students go. We need to raise money so that everyone can participate. And so I think that's probably the biggest challenge, not only local level, but also with Sister Cities International. It's always a big issue because of the economic downturn that we had, which hurt for a while. But I think things are picking up now, and hopefully things will get back to where they were.
Mm-hmm. And also you can bring in groups too, like Rotary clubs. You've got, just take Rotary, you got Kiwanis International, you got Lions, but you've got 34,000 Rotary clubs around the world. And so often they want to team up with other clubs in another country. And so they could actually be the catalyst for helping to launch a Sister Cities program, could they not?
It's so important for service groups or other organizations to be involved with the program. It's very important. Not only can you partner on programs, but as you said, that can lead into having a sister city. So it's important to have your tourism bureau, for example, or your chamber, or your corporations, businesses in town. Service groups, as you mentioned, some of the Rotary clubs. It's very important to have as many organizations and people and government involved as possible to make it really successful.
Mm-hmm. It certainly sounds like a cross-cutting partnership there. And of course, even a business could say, well, I'd like to export, let's say, to Japan or to Quito, Ecuador, or someplace like that. They could actually approach the mayor, they could approach Sister Cities International. So, I have an economic business interest, but I have colleagues in Quito or in Tokyo or in Uganda, wherever it might be, who are interested in creating this. So they could actually help launch it too.
That's correct. And economic development is becoming a big part of the program. There's a saying that friends do business with friends, and I think that's a very good statement, because especially foreign countries, once they get to, they want to be able to trust you. They want to develop friendship first and then do business with you. So Sister Cities is a first step to developing those relationships and those friendships.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kay, as you look back on your very interesting career with Sister Cities and the evolution of Sister Cities, what has been one of the most gratifying and most memorable events for you? I'm sure there have been millions, probably, but have there been one or two or three that have popped out or stuck out?
That stand out in my mind? Well, a couple of things. As far as a particular program, one of the most satisfying for me was when we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of D-Day, and Deauville is located in Normandy and very close to the landing beaches. And for that particular celebration, a medal was given. They had a big ceremony for veterans to come back, and a special medal was made to present to the veterans that went back to Normandy. Because of our sister city relationship, we were able to have medals for the Kentucky veterans that didn't get to go, that were involved in D-Day. They came here to do the celebration in Lexington. It was overwhelming, that program, with these veterans that may be their last chance to get the recognition that they so deserved. That was a very memorable program that I helped with. And so only because of our sister city relationship did that get to happen. The second thing that I always say that makes you feel like, okay, it's all worth it, is because you see so many students, and as you said, I've been in it for a while, so I see so many students now that will come to me that are not students anymore, adults, that will say, that exchange that I did changed my life. That is a very powerful statement to say that that changed my life, and it happens all the time.
It certainly does. Well, Kay Sargent, the coordinator, state coordinator in Kentucky for Sister Cities International, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program. Thank you. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on today's Global Connections program.